Good afternoon, everyone. Today is October 2nd, 2015. Welcome to the State of the Class Address for this week. We started off this week with city-states, but before that I wasn't here on Monday and Tuesday because I went to a wedding in Kansas, which was really cool because the lady was a nanny of my son who was born in Taiwan during the time that he was a baby. And so she finally got married, and he was a ring bearer in it. It was pretty awesome. And another baby, or another young girl who was at the orphanage at the same time that he was there as well. So they got to kind of reunite after 3 years of being separated, I guess, which is really, really neat. So that's where I was Monday and Tuesday. During that time on Monday, they investigated city-states. There were 6 city-states that we're looking into: Athens, Sparta, Megara, Thebes, Corinth, and am I missing one? Argos. Argos. All right, so that's the other one that we're looking into. They researched about their topic, about their city-state, and we will use that to gain an understanding of the city-states and how they kind of work. And then we also use it as a competition as we talk about fate wars, and it's a kind of a look into the daily life of what happened during that time, and they get points awarded if they draw something. It's all luck, so it's just total luck, and for lots of fun. Just things like, hey, you caught some fish, so you get some points today. Hey, you had to buy a donkey, and that doesn't work. I mean, there's a lot more. There's like 30 cards that they can choose from. It's just interesting to see, look into daily life. Right now we got a break from our sponsor. Thank you very much. The last message was brought to you by Marathon Oil and everything else. Please see if you can figure out where the Marathon Oil tie-in is to Greece. Alright, after that we checked into Athenian democracy. On Wednesday we had a simulation. Some of them we did in the seminar room, some of them we did in the science lab. We kind of got up and moved a little bit, depending on who was already in there. Whether we did, whether we went in there or not. But anyway, we got out of the classroom. It was pretty interesting to see how some of the girls weren't able to participate because they didn't during that time period. And at the end, usually it got kind of heated because they were like, "Hey, why didn't I have a say in it?" And it's cool to see that and how the transition went from Greece time to United States time. And so what they had to do is compare and contrast Greece democracy to the United States democracy. And so, if you're following along, these are the answers at the bottom that compares them. The bottom little section there, the Venn diagram-ish thing in your notebook. All right. So in Greece, citizenship was limited to men over 18 who had finished military service. Not younger than 18. Always over 18, which is, we still use that today. All citizens still participated in the assembly, but then some of them were chosen by a lottery to be a part of other things as well, like the Council of 500, the administration, or the courts. That's getting pretty detailed into that, which they don't really necessarily need to know. Citizens voted on all matters, no matter what. And there was only one level of government. Everyone came and voted, and that was that. Foreigners also were not allowed to become citizens. In our simulation, we talked about the Metics, M-E-T-I-C, who still lived in Athens, but they couldn't vote. And that's where that came from. And neither could slaves or servants or women. Right? The United States, things that are different from Greece today. Citizenship applies to all people, regardless of age, gender, whatever, born in the United States, or if they're a naturalized citizen. Citizens are represented by elected officials who govern for them. So we elect people to do what we think should happen in our area, basically. Power is shared between federal government, which is the entire United States, state government, which is a little bit smaller, and then local, like city or town. And then leaders are chosen by vote, not necessarily lottery, like they were in Greece. Some of the things that is shared between them is they use the concept of citizen as someone with the right to participate in government. If you're a citizen, you can do this. It's organized into various branches or bodies. We have legislative, judicial, executive, along many others, depending on the states and whatnot. And voting is a means of participation. So if you're going to participate, you vote. And we actually looked at what our last presidential election, how many people turned out to vote, and it was 58.2%. And we talked about how that was still not a majority. I guess it was a majority, but it was still just a little bit above majority. So only half people are voting for just a president in general. Obviously, different things and different numbers around different parts of the United States, but in general, everyone, only 58% of the people who are able to vote did. The next thing that we talked about on Thursday and Friday were the Persian Wars. Most famous Persian War was probably the Battle of Thermopylae, which the movie 300 is based off of. I'm not recommending that movie. It's a rated R movie, but it seemed that some students, actually probably around half of them, had already seen it, and so they were able to relate to that. We're going to pause for our second commercial break, and thank you to one of our sponsors. Nike is a sponsor of this segment. Please find the link to Greece. Alright, thank you very much, Nike, for sponsoring that segment. And next week, just looking ahead, we're going to do the Olympics next week, which is one of my favorite days of the year. And also today is the last day of the first 9 weeks, so grades are pretty much today. Hopefully all the reminders all week that I've given you every single day to get stuff in class, and I've reminded those of you who haven't turned stuff in to do it, and hopefully you have. Hopefully you've taken that initiative. Homecoming is tonight. Hopefully you are attending that, and hopefully you have a wonderful weekend. One more week until fall break. Hopefully next week is going to be fantastic. Also, don't forget that we also talked about the Persians, how they attacked Greeks, and eventually Greece won. Most famous battle was the Battle of Thermopylae, which is pretty rockin', and it set Greece up for the golden age of Greece, which is pretty much why we remember them today, because of all that amazingness. Also, map test on Wednesday over those 9 countries that are either in your notebook or in classroom, whichever you chose to do. Have a wonderful weekend.